right, Jesse's ready.
So it's the same rule that you turn it on when the chair sees it, and then he'll let you talk. It's not an automatic free pass for chat.
All right, I've got 6:30. I'll call to order this meeting of the Plan Commission, regular meeting for Thursday, August 24th, 2017. And when you're ready, could you please take the roll?
Hanson is excused. Kenny?
Here.
Monday?
Present.
Parpart?
Here.
Robbins is excused. Tome?
Here.
Zabatokny?
Thank you. This meeting has been noticed in accordance with state statutes and local ordinances. Number 4 is to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Agenda is approved. Thank you. On to
Mayor,
oh,
I'm afraid I put the wrong minutes in there, so
Oh.
if you could just skip those, and then we'll send you the right ones for the next time.
thank you.
Sorry about
I
that.
didn't notice that. Okay, we have no unfinished business. Number 7 is new business. So we'll start off with A, which is public hearing to consider request of Drexel Building Supply Incorporated for a conditional use permit to operate a general retail establishment with gross area of space occupied by the establishment over 50,000 square feet on tax parcel 1110.002. Unless there's any opposition here, I will open the public hearing. Seeing none, the public hearing is open. All right, we have the site plan review from Rupert Milkie in our packet. There are several pages of comments from Jason that have been provided to us. Do we have any questions on this? Ed's got nothing? Uriah's shaking his head no? Bob's shaking his head no? Matt?
Just to make sure I understand, Patrick, on this, this is all the suggestions that Jason has developed, Arnie has developed, while reviewing the submittal from July 28th by Madden, Vanderloop, whoever that may be, the Madden. Has there been a submittal since then? Has there been any updates to these? This is all obviously going back to them to then do another round of review.
Yeah, so these are the items that Jason reviewed against our ordinances and is telling Drexel, these are things that are gonna need to be corrected in order to get a site plan approval. And as a requirement with the CUP that's submitted also, the site, his review, so.
Okay. I guess, are we planning on okaying pushing this on the common council with hopes that it'll all be taken care of prior to then? Obviously, this now our council meeting would be the 2nd of September, 5th? 5th.
Yeah. One thing I'll note is that the site plan review has to be completed to the city's satisfaction before a building permit would be issued.
Okay.
So that's like our ultimate leverage, I guess, I would say. In terms of the conditional use, this is just simply an ability to under the zoning code to operate this establishment under the highway commercial, so they need that.
Okay. Just kind of getting my bearings here.
So my last comments.
Please.
So it's normal for, when it comes in for a conditional use, for there to have been some things that they missed or some additional information. And none of them are deal breakers in this, but all of them relate to the application for the conditional use because it requires a site plan that can be approved too. So it's not uncommon for the Plan Commission to say, if, contingent upon you addressing the items in the staff review letter, because other members of the city staff have sent comments to Jason. He incorporates them all into one letter, so it's cleaner for the developer to see. Subject to them addressing all that, you can give them a conditional use. And then, subject to getting the site plan, like Patrick said, then they can eventually get a building permit.
Then this turns into the actual
Right.
building permit.
So the conditional use allows them to have the business there, and the site plan approval allows them to get a building permit.
and the building permit allows them to build.
Right.
Which then kind of turns into a circular thing here. That makes sense, okay.
Yeah, no activity until the site plan meets our approval.
And there's been no more updates or emails or amendments to this from R&M, so we have the most current one in here. Okay.
Right from last week, yep.
The one dated 16th, yeah, okay.
Typically, what will happen is if the plan commission makes a recommendation with these contingencies, even if it's recommended to the council can would usually carry those contingencies along, because then it allows staff to use this as the guideline. So,
And you can add things too, as long as they're reasonable and not arbitrary.
Yeah.
Uriah?
I had a couple of questions apart from the Ruker Milky letter. If we want to talk about those now or during other discussion.
Well, we don't have anyone present that I can see for the public hearing, so unless there's any other questions from us, we can close the public hearing, and then we can still have that discussion before we make a recommendation.
Let's do that.
Okay. All right. And then I'm legally required to ask if there is anyone present that wishes to speak at this public hearing 3 times, so that would be the first time. The second time, I will ask if there's anyone present that wishes to speak at this public hearing. And for a third and final time, I will ask if there is anyone present that wishes to speak at this public hearing. Seeing none, then I will close the public hearing, and we will move on to item B, which is consider recommendation to the Common Council on the request of Drexel Building Supply Incorporated for a conditional use permit to operate a general retail establishment with the gross area of space occupied by the establishment over 50,000 square feet on tax parcel 1110.002. That would be a great time.
Yes, my question pertains to the 50,000 square feet. My understanding of the code is that it's 50,000 square feet of building space. Is that correct?
Any of their buildings or some wood structure, any of their structures
Sure,
on the lot.
okay.
All of that space.
Aggregately,
Yes,
yeah, okay,
aggregate.
all right. So, and I usually like to ask this kind of question just to sort of get a grasp on, are they going a little bit outside of what would ordinarily be allowed versus way outside? And the main question I have to ask is they have a retail space, but then they've got a lot of basically warehouse space, so it sort of seems like, if one were apart from the other, say they had a retail establishment and then they had their warehouse yard somewhere else but nearby, right? They might not even need a conditional use permit. Am I?
Well, the structure always needs a conditional use permit. The activity in that zoning needs a conditional use permit.
Is this highway commercial?
It's highway commercial, so if it's a little place, they might not, but anything, once you get up around 20,000 square feet, you do. And if you have your stuff on 2 different lots, then each lot would have to meet the zoning, which may require a conditional use for the lot too. And I think they were in the 60-some thousand square feet.
Anything else, Uriah? No? Bob? Ed? Matt? All right. Anybody want to make a motion or recommendation to the Common Council on this?
I'll make a motion to recommend approval for the conditional use permit to the Common Council with the condition that staff comments be addressed.
I'll second.
Get first and possibly 2 seconds to make the recommendation to the Common Council for the conditional use permit, and that we keep the engineer's site plan review comments intact. Any questions on the motion? And do we need a voice vote or a roll call?
This committee can do whichever they choose.
Okay. Let's just do a voice vote then. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. All right, on to number C then, update on local development activities. Patrick, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Well, the process here for Drexel is another step to bring another project out to TIF number 4. So that follows Ottery, Duffy, Fromm, and now Drexel as the projects within the TIF district. I can just update you another potential project, the Vita Plus we'd been talking to, and I've explained that to our committee about their interest in potentially moving in the area. They are just about ready to commit to that. There was some review. They were looking at, particularly this is land just north of Fromm, currently not in the city, currently not in the TIF, but the understanding is once they close on the land, we would work on an annexation and amend the TIF to include them. They just needed some time to work out issues with the DOT on access, which I'm told that there's an understanding between the DOT on an access to that site off of Highway 16. They had to go through some wetland delineation and determine how the presence of the wetland would work with their site plan. And then the third cog was rail. They're working because they wanted to tap into the rail line, and which the representative from Vita says that's still very much in play. So what I was told is to look around October timeframe for their closing. So that's, I guess, when the real heavy lifting might be needed from the city's side to work with them on their projects. So positive development, another domino, I guess, out there. Otherwise, in terms of development on the residential side, I see that the last lot in the Kestrel Ridge Phase 2 has been dug. So that filled up fairly quickly. The Black and Hartung developers, Highland Ridge? What did I say? Oh, Kestrel Ridge, I'm sorry. They have the other development, the Woods, that's been more of a revisioned area. They've got a couple of spec homes out there, so that's just getting started. But otherwise, still very healthy amount of single-family building permits. And I'll say Kestrel Ridge correctly this time. A lot of homes being built out there and open lots all over the city. So it's an issue in my mind about, where the next housing availability might be for the city. So we've had some discussions about that, but also need to have willing landowners wanting to put those in. So that, I think, kind of sums it up. I mean, in it of itself, the James Street project is a development project, I would say, too. Should bring some positive things to the city all the way up and down. And everybody can see what's happening there, paving left and right, and continuing to work on that important project for the city. So I think that conclude what I have, unless anybody's got any questions. Yeah.
They should be ahead of schedule out here for the street?
It's been a while since they've said that off the record even to me, but I think the fact that we've had this large chunk of paving put in way before it should have is a good indicator. In the spring, if you recall, they were doing a lot of work here in this section and it was phase 2, but they were allowed to do that per contract if they flagged and allowed traffic to go through. So they kept doing, spot by spot work on the utilities, and I think that allowed them to get ahead a little bit. So they're always careful to say we're not way ahead or whatever, because you never know when a week's worth of rain or something else might come up, but it's looking pretty good in terms of the schedule.
Yeah.
Under promise and over deliver.
Great.
I had some TIF 4 questions that are probably deserving of some, at least open comment.
Yeah.
Number one, just so I can visualize better where Vita Plus is talking about, is it lot 1 on this same CSM?
Is it lot 1?
That's not Vita Plus, that's Drexel. Drexel is
No,
Drexel is
2.
Fromm is lot 1.
Okay, so Fromm will continue to expand westward onto Lot 1.
That's where their stuff is.
Okay, and Drexel would be up
North of that.
here, okay. all
Yep.
right, Okay. Well, yeah. I think, Patrick, I've mentioned this before, is an improvement to Fall River Road, now that the TIF is generating some increment to do infrastructure projects, is an improvement to Fall River Road in the cards? Hall Road is, obviously, that's gonna be built by others, I see on this plan.
Built by us, the city.
Well,
Yeah.
others than.
We're the others, yeah.
Right, others than the developer, because they're
Yep.
planning on using that new intersection as the access to the.
Correct.
To the lot.
Yep.
Okay. So can you give us a little bit of an overview of what the ideas are out there for infrastructure
Yeah,
improvements?
yeah, I think for quite a while now, DOT has been pretty clear in their interest in closing off Columbus Fall River Road to Highway 16, and the reason I believe they like the Hall Road proposal is this is a mechanism to get that done. We're just embarking on a T grant for the Hall Road, and the discussions about the future of Columbus Fall River Road I think are going to be front and center with that. And I think that's then the opportunity to improve that roadway, if it's cul-de-sac or somehow, terminated there at the end by Duffy's there, at that lot. So I think it's also an opportunity, and some others out there, and nothing's been officially looked at or studied, but there's an interest actually by people from Fall River in looking at a trail connection between the two communities. So if there's going to be activity on that road, maybe that's the time to do it. So I sense there'll be some more in-depth study on that.
On the same subject, would there be a possibility then that with the additional traffic, see if they close off Columbus Fall River, the Duffys would have to come out around that way, would there be another controlled intersection?
At 16 and Hall Road,
Yeah.
I guess the decision would come from DOT, in terms of the traffic counts and how that would warrant.
Because at that point they're kind of moving rather quickly yet.
I mean, I'm not an engineer, and I don't work for DOT, but I just think about, if you're closing off Columbus Fall River Road, you're going to have trucks, but it's still, I think, the numbers might not be there yet.
Okay.
I just my perspective, but I could be off on that.
Okay.
You're right.
I was just gonna say that the big generators are the truck stop, both from vehicular and semi-traffic. And now that intersection is improved, I think that's gonna do a great deal to help out what was the situation there. I think closing off Columbus Fall River Road too, by doing that, you eliminate the possibility of simply having moved the accident problem up one very short intersection there. And stuff like Drexel, Ottery. Well, Ottery can get access through the truck stop, right?
Right.
Okay. So stuff like Drexel and Fromm and Duffy, those are much more limited in their traffic generation, right? Drexel will have delivery flatbeds. Duffy, thank you. That's also limited to trucks coming in and needing service, and then so it's a lot lower of a generator, and you've sort of separated the two uses of the intersections. The one intersection is sort of limited delivery and maintenance things, and the intersection that's signaled is you're coming in, out, getting fuel, groceries, blah, 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 blah.
I think the other thing too is in the plans for Drexel and Fromm are use of rail eventually, so that whether that cuts into their trucking or it just, the rail is in addition to their shipping, I'm not exactly sure, but it could have, keep the trucking numbers down if they're able to ship a lot out through the rail.
Who has jurisdiction over the speed limit on that section of highway as it goes out to the Hall Road intersection?
If we have construction rights, we can talk to them about that, but it's a state highway, so they're gonna have a say.
Sure.
And it's way outside of our construction limits right now.
The last time I was stopped, they told me it wasn't me.
And it wasn't what?
It wasn't me that had control over it.
Anything else? Looks like our next meeting then is planned for Thursday, September 21st. Unless there's any other questions, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you for such a brief meeting.
We already have something on the agenda.